You have never witnessed Martell Holt and those connected to him in this light before. It all started when Tasha K dropped that video, and family, when I say it broke Martell Holt down, I mean it exposed him in a way that no excuse in the world could cover. As soon as it hit social media, fans lost it. Some people were stunned, some were furious, and of course, a few tried to defend Martell like they always do. But the majority stood behind Melody Shari, finally giving her the support she's been needing for so long. The reality is, Melody has been saying for years that Martell harasses her, won't let her be, shows up where he doesn't belong, and constantly puts her peace, even her children's safety, at risk. And the saddest part? Many people ignored her. But once Tasha K released that clip, everybody had no choice but to pay attention. And here's the part that had folks shaking their heads. Martell Holt did exactly what he always does. Instead of showing any shame or taking a moment to reflect, he started laughing, cracking jokes, and deflecting. He even went so far as to mock Melody for how she looked in court. Melody came dressed sharp and professional in her white suit, walking in with dignity, ready to handle business with respect. But Martell thought it was funny, calling it her Sunday best, as if dressing properly for court was something to joke about. And family, you already know there's a double standard here. Nobody mocked Martell for how he showed up. Nobody clowned him when pictures surfaced from court. But Melody? She got dragged for being too perfect. That's the type of bias we see over and over again. And don't forget about Arionne Curry, who calls herself Class Law. She showed up too, but instead of being respectful, she wore something people whispered was way too short for a courtroom. But where was the outrage? Silence. Nobody criticized her the way they did Melody. No jokes, no noise. It's clear who the target always ends up being. Still, Melody didn't let any of that shake her. She walked in, handled her business, and walked out with her head held high. That's strength. That's grace under pressure. That's exactly why her supporters continue to ride for her. But family, things only got messy once court was over. Picture this: Martell, Melody, Arionne, and even Insecurity all end up in the same elevator. Can you imagine the tension in that tiny space? Instead of keeping her mouth shut and acting like a grown woman, Arionne decided to throw shade at Melody, saying she was with someone's husband's family. I couldn't help but laugh at the irony. Arionne has been battling for years to justify her relationship with Martell, fighting against being labeled the other woman, and in that very moment, she still chose to come at Melody. That wasn't confidence, that wasn't strength, it was desperation. Melody could have lost her cool. She could have stormed out, but she didn't. She stood tall, stayed calm, and refused to let Arionne drag her into the mud. That's why people say Melody is truly in a league of her own. Now family, stick with me because this is just the beginning. We're not just here breaking down some reality TV drama machines. This isn't simply about love and marriage, Huntsville, or just cast member arguments. No, it's far deeper than that. It's about repeated patterns, gaslighting, manipulation, and accountability. Martell Holt didn't just brush off the accusations while in court. He slipped right back into his usual habits. He tried to flip the script. He told folks he had videos of the real abuser, trying to point the finger back at Melody and her family. How many times have we seen him do this exact thing? He pokes, he prods, he stirs the pot, and then when Melody reacts, he records it and runs off acting like he's the victim. We've all seen this play before. People are finally tired of it. And let's talk about those so-called penalties. Martell laughed, saying that if he really had done what Melody accused him of, he'd be sitting in jail instead of just facing a $300 fine. But let's be real, the fact that he was fined at all, instead of getting harsher consequences, doesn't mean the accusations were small. That doesn't mean his actions were okay. The justice system doesn't always hand down punishments that match the seriousness of the behavior. Martell knows that too, yet instead of reflecting on it, he treated it like a joke. That's exactly why fans were outraged. That's why the internet exploded, and family, we're still only scratching the surface. Because if you look closely, this pattern stretches way beyond just Martell and Melody. Add in Letitia Scott, Marcia Scott, Kimmy Scott, Morris Scott, and of course Miss Wanda, and you'll see that this entire cast has been dealing with Martell's behavior for years. And if you go back, it's clear, some tried to enable him, while others tried to warn him. Marcia and Morris have clashed with him repeatedly. Remember that rooftop argument where things almost turned physical? Kimmy, always the voice of reason, has dropped hint after hint that Martell refuses to act responsibly. And Miss Wanda? She's forever ready to stir the pot, sometimes shading Martell, other times ignoring the chaos completely. But when you look at the big picture, the same issue stands out. Martell simply refuses to take accountability. And then there's Carlos King, the producer himself. Fans have started calling him out too, questioning why production hasn't done more to protect Melody. Because if a woman says she feels unsafe, even in her own home, and production just lets it slide, that's no longer just messy reality TV. That's a complete failure of responsibility. Fans want answers. And they've made it clear they won't stop until they get them. They've been responding to Carlos King's comments, flooding the network with questions and making it known Martell isn't the only one responsible. Everyone who allowed this to continue is also to blame. That's why I'm telling you to stick with me until the very end. As we pull back each layer, you'll see just how deep this story runs, why fans are finally saying enough is enough, and how the chaos has touched every single cast member. The internet wasted no time. As soon as those videos surfaced, people started calling Martell out on social media in a way we've never witnessed before. Within minutes, the reaction was clear. Normally, he still has a small group of loyal fans ready to defend him no matter what. But this time, silence. The crowd stayed quiet. People were saying, Martell, we've given you chance after chance, but this right here proves everything we've been watching all along. And when fans shift like that, you know something is changing. You know there's no more patience left. People were genuinely shocked at how little guilt he showed. Martell sat on live, laughing, cracking jokes, making fun of the situation like it was all some kind of comedy show. And it makes you ask, how can you laugh about something this serious? How can you downplay the fact that the mother of your children feels unsafe around you? That's not funny. That's not entertainment. That's real life. But Martell has built his name on never admitting fault. Every single time he twists the story, blames somebody else, or turns it into a joke when he's caught. And family, let's be real, that isn't strength. That's avoidance. So let's get something straight. For years, Melody Shari has had to endure this. Think about the challenge of building a brand, raising kids, starring in a hit reality series, and at the same time constantly looking over your shoulder because your ex refuses to let go. She's tried to set boundaries. She's tried to leave with grace. She's even tried to co-parent peacefully, but Martell keeps showing us again and again that he doesn't respect those limits. And now, supporters are louder than ever, saying Melody deserves more. She deserves peace. She deserves safety. She deserves freedom from the constant drama Martell drags into her life. But family, this isn't only about Melody and her children. Martell's choices spill over onto everyone connected to him. Take the two Scott brothers, Marsa and Morris. For years, they've had front row seats to Martell's downward spiral. Do you remember that rooftop scene when Martell came at Marsa with raw anger, ready to fight? That wasn't just about Marsa. That was Martell showing once again that he cannot control his temper. Morris has tried time and again to talk some sense into him, urging him to think before he reacts. But does Martell listen? No, he goes right back to the same old behavior. And honestly, at this point, it's not about advice anymore. It's about decisions. Martell chooses not to listen. He chooses chaos. That's why we're still here. And then there's Kimmy Scott, who has always been the voice of reason on the show. Kimmy has called out Martell's behavior several times, and she doesn't sugarcoat it. She says exactly what needs to be said, calmly, directly, and without hesitation. She has called him out for dodging responsibility, for refusing to face the truth, and for twisting the story instead of owning it. And how does Martell respond? He doesn't. He brushes it off, convinced everyone else is the problem but him. That's exactly why Kimmy has so much respect from viewers. She voices what everyone else is thinking, and she does it without fear. Look at how fast support has shifted. Look at how quickly the story itself has changed. Martell can laugh all he wants, but the world isn't laughing along. Family, I need you to stick with me because we're only just getting started. There are layers to this that involve not only Martell, Melody, and Arionne, but also the Scotts, Wanda, Carlos King, and even the network itself. And when you connect all those dots, you realize it's not just about one man's fall from grace. This is about accountability. about power, and about the price people pay when they ignore warning signs for too long. It's bigger than the drama we see play out with Martell on camera. It's the ripple effect that spreads behind the scenes. And when you piece it all together, you start to understand why this most recent event shook people so deeply. It wasn't just one isolated thing. It was the result of years of reckless behavior finally coming to a breaking point. Fans of the show are speaking up now louder than ever, saying, "We've seen enough. We've watched this pattern repeat too many times, so let's go back to that elevator moment because it holds meaning." You had Martell, Melody, and Arionne, three people with years of lies and betrayal between them, stuck together in one tiny space. That elevator was a symbol for the whole show. Everyone trapped in a heated box where tensions are climbing, and instead of choosing silence and maturity, Arionne decided to throw shade at Melody. Now family, think about that. What does it say when the so-called other woman can't resist stirring the pot, even in a courthouse elevator? It shows the drama isn't just about Martell. It's about ego, competition, and a craving for attention. In that moment, Arionne wasn't proving anything. What she really did was show the world that after all these years, she still ties her identity to Martell Holt. And here's where it gets worse. Martell didn't step in. He didn't check Arionne. He didn't defend Melody, the mother of his children. He just smirked. He let that insult slide. And that silence spoke volumes, because silence, family, is its own kind of crime. Now, let's shift to the Scots. Marsa and Martell have clashed repeatedly. Morris has offered advice. Kimmy has straight up called him out. Yet nothing has shifted. And the question is, why? Fans are beginning to believe it's because Martell thrives in chaos, and the show continues to feed him more of it. The wilder he acts, the more headlines he gets. The worse his behavior, the more attention it pulls in. That's where Carlos King enters the picture. Carlos has built a reputation for producing messy reality TV that people can't stop watching. But now fans are challenging him directly. They're asking, "Carlos, are you creating entertainment, or are you allowing harassment to happen on your watch?" Production doesn't want to touch that question, but family, it can't be avoided anymore, because fans aren't just viewers, they're customers. And when customers feel like the network values ratings more than safety or dignity, that's when the brand begins to collapse. And the internet comments make it clear. People are saying things like, "We're not watching Martell's circus anymore. We're done if you don't protect Melody." Others are calling Carlos out directly. "Why are you allowing Martell to make women look bad? We won't support this show if it's just enabling abuse." When fans unite and speak like that, it signals a shift. The story stops being mere gossip and starts being about responsibility. But here's the twist. Martell actually thinks he can outlast the outrage. But now fans are beginning to question if OWN has truly lost its direction. They're cashing in on Martell's chaos, but at the same time pushing behavior that many viewers are calling intimidation, disrespect, and even emotional abuse. And you know what the audience is saying? If OWN refuses to step in and protect Melody, then maybe it's time we stop tuning in altogether. That's no small warning, family, because advertisers pay close attention to public opinion. Brand reputation matters just as much as ratings. OWN is definitely feeling that pressure now, and executives are being forced to weigh if keeping Martell Holt around is really worth the gamble. But here's where things take an even bigger turn. People online aren't just reacting, they're organizing. Fans are rallying together using hashtags like Protect Melody Sherry and Cancel Martell, showing support for Melody not only as a reality TV star, but as a woman who's been through storms and still remains standing tall. Some are even tagging Oprah herself, asking her to personally step into the mess. And what gives this entire movement so much weight? It's Melody's grace. Every time Martell mocks her, she responds with dignity. No matter how much Arionne or anyone else tries to drag her down, when shade gets thrown her way, or even when production puts her in a tight corner, she remains polished, professional, and completely unbothered. That's the reason fans view her as more than just another cast member. To them, she represents survival, inspiration, and unshakable strength. Meanwhile, Martell just keeps digging his own hole deeper. Instead of pausing, reflecting, and apologizing, he doubles down. He cracks jokes, changes the subject, and laughs it off. And family, let's keep it real, how many other celebrities have we seen do the same thing? They act like nothing can touch them until the industry flips on them. One day the fans switch sides, and suddenly the spotlight that once fueled them turns into the flames that burn them out. That's exactly the cycle Martell is walking into. He doesn't see it yet, but every move he makes only worsens the fallout. The more he laughs, the more his true self shows. And with every move, fans are standing even stronger with Melody. The more he mocks, the more people demand that the network cut him loose. So, what's the bigger picture here, family? It's this: Martell Holt may be the centerpiece of this drama, but this story is really forcing us to think about the bigger system that allows men like him to thrive on reality television unchecked. And now the fans are saying enough is enough. This isn't just the downfall of one man, it's a cultural shift. A turning point where viewers want everyone who allowed this to go on without accountability to finally answer for it. Not just Martell, but Carlos King owns producers, the entire machine behind it. And trust me when I say this is far from finished. The next part of this story won't just be about Martell, but about everyone tied to him. Because when fans flip, advertisers start panicking and networks begin to feel the squeeze. Suddenly, those who thought they could never be touched are realizing just how touchable they really are. They thought they were untouchable,